Hello and welcome to another episode in where we are going to edit this image of some woods in the forest in the Garda Lake. So the image right now, as you can see, is pretty balanced in terms of exposure, maybe just a touch on the darker side, but not with too much contrast. So first thing first, I want to crop this image just a bit, and what I want to do is ideally having this part of the tree here in the upper left third and this part here in the bottom right third. Okay, so what we want to do is something like this. Okay, and this is more, let's say, centered, and we can actually have a better placement of the items. So here clearly this is a really simple image. Mainly there are two colors, the orange brown part that you can see here on the leaves, and the green part that you can see here on the stone, on the rock, and on the trees. Okay, so actually we want to emphasize this simplicity. So as for the exposure, as I said, maybe just a touch, not too much. We can actually go down, go up like a third of exposure. We can certainly increase the contrast a bit because it lacks contrast. You can actually see this from the histogram. Just to show you, if I go on the left part, you see that the histogram squeezes towards the middle. If I go on the other part, the histogram is stretched to the left and right. So what we want to do is just to have a more homogeneous distribution between the left and right part of the image. So the brightness is okay, in my opinion. I wouldn't touch it, and the saturation, as always, can be increased roughly like so. Okay, great. We do not have too many highlights, shadows, white. The high dynamic range is quite well handled here, so I wouldn't go too much into these details, and I would add a bit of clarity because it's still like a landscape shot, although it's more narrow and focused on some details. So if we go to look at the before and after, you can see that we have made already quite some nice improvements over there. Great. Let's press auto for the auto levels again, and simple S curve here. Great. So this image could actually be done right now. I mean, if you like it, there's nothing wrong with it. If you do like it as it is, I would probably reduce a bit the highlights here because they are quite a bit distracting. But what I want to do is actually work a bit more on the colors of the image, because we have a really clear green here that I want to emphasize, and I want it to be like the only color in this image, and it's quite simple to do so. If you go to the color editor, you take the brown leaves and you reduce the saturation a bit. This goes the same for this brownish tree, like so, and we can do the same for the green, but since we have this direct color editor selected, we can actually increase the saturation of this just a bit, and also the lightness a bit more. Okay, and if you look at the before and after, you can actually see that now the greens are predominant in the image. In the before, you could actually see a lot of these brown leaves which are distracting eventually in the image. Now these are only, they can only be seen as a complement to the image. Great. So I like the image as it is, but now we have somehow to draw the attention of our viewer towards this tree, this rock here, and possibly this rock here as well. So what we want to do is actually create a layer which we can call it darken, and what we want to do is to draw the eye of our viewer inside the image, and to do so we could actually use a radial filter, sorry, a gradient filter like so, and reduce the brightness of this. Okay, I like to use the brightness here and not the exposure, because the exposure is quite too aggressive in this kind of tasks. The brightness does definitely a better job, and you could actually go even let's say even more to the left without disrupting your image. We can do it something like this. Okay, and we could actually do the same also for the shadows, just a bit, and also the blacks. Awesome. Just look at how much this changes, and we want to perform the exact same thing also on the other part of the image. So in this part here and this part here as well. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new layer. Actually I can copy this mask and then change it, but I just created a new layer. I call it darken right, and I do the same. And I'm gonna reduce the brightness again. Let's do the same also for the left. Like so. Okay, finally what I'd like to do is to darken this part of the image here, but not with a gradient filter. We are going to use the radial one, and what we do is something like this. We draw this radial filter like so, and now the mask is basically everything outside of this filter. We want to invert it like so. I press M again, and now we can reduce the brightness of it. Here you have to be really careful, because you can see that you can easily ruin the image. So you want to work in really small steps like so. And what you want to do is also to increase it just a bit, so it gets between all the other parts of this image. Okay, and this is it. This is the before, quite an anonymous image. Now it's certainly more pleasing and with more elements to look for, and the focus is really on this greenish part of the image. The last thing that you want to do is, if you look at this image, there are two things that actually distract me a bit. One is this greenish part here, and the other one is this greenish part here, because they are drawing away your attention from the only point of the image at which you have to look at. So if we take our darken left here, this is the mask, we can actually use it also for the colors, and we simply go here on the green and we reduce the saturation of this. Okay, and you can see that it easily disappears, and we can do the same also for the lower part. Again, we go on the green and we reduce not the hue but the saturation of this. Okay, and again, look the bottom part of the image, how it changes from this to this, and for the colors from this to this. Now this is not distracting anymore, and it's drawing the attention of the viewer towards the image that you actually want. Great. So last thing, now we changed this quite a bit. We could actually press again on the levels and change this a bit. You could actually change the center point to decide how many shades of the darker colors and how many shades of the brighter colors you want to have. So since this is quite a moody image, I don't want to have too many shades of bright, but I want to prioritize the blacks, like so. And now I can see that I can increase this just a touch, like so. Great. If you want, you can also work with the dehaze tool on the background, because this also helps creating this moody effect. If you go on the positive side, you are actually removing these colors here, which are detected automatically as brown, and if you go on the negative side, you are actually increasing them, and you can see that it turns out quite brownish. So what I want to do is just to give a touch of brown to this image, and again you can see the before and after, how it changed, and it's actually quite nice in my opinion. So that's it. Thank you for watching.